Will we ever run out of energy? Since the Industrial Revolution, we have relied on fossil fuels to power our lives. We need electricity to power our electronics, and we need gasoline to power our cars, trains, planes, and boats. But these limited resources are running out. Peak oil is a term used to describe the time when the amount of oil in the earth begins to dwindle and production declines. Some scientists predict that we will reach peak oil in 2018. If these resources continue to be consumed at this pace, soon we won't have any left. Biofuels are alternatives to the traditional gasoline that is used for transportation all around the world. By using biofuels such as ethanol and biodiesel, we can avoid using up the limited resources without sacrificing the energy that they provide and without contributing to global warming. The amount of carbon dioxide that is released by burning biofuels is equal to the amount that is initially absorbed from the atmosphere by plants. To learn more about biofuels, I talked to Mr. Eric Nispel, a chemistry teacher and the coordinator of John Burroughs School's biodiesel program, Dr. Pam Keck from the National Corn Growers Association, Dr. David Morgenstern from Monsanto, and Professor Yunji Tang from Washington University. With the help of these four experts, we will journey through the world of biofuels together. Biofuels, fuels for the future.
Biofuel is a fuel that is produced from some sort of organic, renewable resource. The main alternative biofuel that I'm involved with is biodiesel, and as I mentioned, that is made from cooking oil. Also in Missouri, we use a large amount of ethanol, and that is a corn-based biofuel. The corn is processed into a sugar, and then the sugar is fermented and turned into an ethanol biofuel. There are other biofuels used around the world, but they basically fall into those two categories, ethanol or biodiesel, a gasoline alternative or a diesel alternative.
And while there might be plenty of methane in the planet now that people are finding and extracting, it took millions of years to produce that. It took millions of years of fossils and plant and animal material to decay to make those resources. And with corn or with biodiesel or with other cellulosic based biofuels, those things are produced on an annual basis. And so we can make more of those. And in fact, so it's renewable. The other thing is it has a lower carbon footprint. It produces less greenhouse gases.
Other benefits can be in the sense that you don't have to drill for oil, you don't have to frack for natural gas. All of these can be grown using normal agricultural techniques, and they don't produce some of the same sort of environmental consequences that oil drilling or fracking for natural gas might involve.
So when you think about how reliant we are on transportation, I mean, people just assume they can get in their cars and go, and we do. And this world is set up to do that. So if somebody just shuts that down and says, oh, you can only drive your car one day a week because we can't get enough petroleum, there's going to be mad chaos, right? Energy is a big deal. So I would say those three things, that it's renewable, it produces less greenhouse gases to make, and it provides us energy security.
Biodiesel can be converted from used cooking oil, then used in planes, tractors, and boats.
That's what we bring over here and start processing. So after I go through the whole process of mixing it with the catalyst, reacting it with the methanol, and then washing it and separating it, we end up with this as our biodiesel. If you notice, the viscosity is much different. This is very thick, high viscosity, very hard to pump through your fuel system in your automobile or in your engine, whereas this, we've now changed the viscosity, made it look more like a normal engine fuel. Low viscosity, easy to flow, generally more flammable, easier to ignite.
Corn ethanol is efficient, low cost, and makes up 10% of our standard fuel.
So ethanol is a really important topic to corn farmers. And the reason is that about 28% of the corn goes to produce ethanol.
And what you end up with in corn is a seed that's about 70% carbohydrates that we normally just go ahead and feed to animals or convert to human food. The problem we have is that starch is not really what we're short of in this country or in the world. It's a simple, fast form of energy, but the most valuable part of the corn is the oil and the protein, which gets converted to meat and which we use in our own bodies. So the beauty of ethanol is that it takes the starch, which we have in surplus, and it converts it to a liquid fuel that we can use for energy for transportation, something that we're short of.
The EPA says that cornstarch ethanol actually saves 20% less greenhouse gases compared to gasoline from petroleum. Our recent studies and the work that we've done by us and others shows that it's almost up to 50% less than gasoline being produced from petroleum.
Ethanol, it's a liquid, and that may sound minor, but a lot of the other alternative fuels that we have, renewable fuels, don't come to us in a liquid form. So wind obviously ends up as electricity. Electricity has to be stored, and so you end up carrying batteries around.
Next, we learned about cellulosic and algal ethanol, which are promising but developing alternatives.
Cellulosic ethanol is that, so the microbial use cellulose instead of sugar to make the ethanol. So cellulose can come from sugar, come from the grass or the corn stalk, so you are not compete with food source.
Then there's switchgrass, all kinds of grasses that you can use. And then a lot of people have used things from waste products as well too. So anything that has a cellulose base can be used technically and converted into ethanol. If you're in a part of the world where maybe you don't do much agriculture, algae might be a viable option in those areas.
So when it comes to algae, right, the whole idea there is you are cycling carbon out of the atmosphere again, and you're doing it with a plant that, you know, isn't competing with, you know, cropland.
So currently the biofuel is still too costly for our daily life, and the technology is not mature.
For me, if I could live to see that day that we have engines that run on 25% ethanol, I think that would be fantastic.
In conclusion, yes, humans are running out of energy. But now many biofuels are being developed. They are renewable, they have low carbon emissions, and help achieve energy independence. Some forms of biofuels, such as ethanol from algae, are still too expensive to be widely used, but in the future, they can be cheaper, environmentally friendly, more efficient alternatives to petroleum.